This is Plague, a terrifying new entity I've created for doors, and in this video I'll be explaining to all of you viewers everything you need to know about it. You see, 8 months ago I created Plague, my first ever doors entity concept, a brainchild made solely by me that isn't inspired by anything else in the game, unlike a lot of other entity concepts I've created. Now, 8 months ago me was very bad at creating entities, I must admit, so now I've decided to revisit this old idea of mine and revamp it to fit the actual game. Keep in mind, this video is just for fun, and nothing said in this upload is official. So with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so Plague here physically is meant to appear like a dirty and run-down mannequin, which I think is pretty obvious given how their whole body is on a stick and they have no arms. Also, just don't mind how their model is horribly scuffed. I'm not the best modeler, especially when it comes to making custom 3D things. Moving on though, this entity is also meant to have human-like traits as well, such as a more soft and fleshy skin, as well as the ability to carry deadly diseases, hence why I'm calling them Plague. If you notice, their design is accompanied by several large tumor-like growths sprouting all throughout their body, large fleshy scars appearing on their sides and face, and infection rash-like warts riddling their skin. This thing is meant to look like it's infected with some type of foul disease, and this would actually play into their functionality. The way I imagine this working is that throughout your mind's playthrough, sometimes in the first half of the floor and more frequently in the second half, players would have the chance of encountering Plague in rooms they access. Now, seeing how this entity is technically a mannequin, they wouldn't be able to move, so for a majority of the time they'll just be stationary. However, don't let this fool you, as just because you can't see them move doesn't mean they don't move at all. When Plague is encountered, they will always obstruct a player's path to accessing the following room. This forces players to get close to the entity, causing a sort of mini-game to occur. Upon getting close to Plague, the entity will release its deadly toxins onto all players, giving them a temporary blindness and slowness effect. Then, the entity would teleport around the room to a new location as if they were somehow moving in the blinding confusion. Players would have to locate and whack through the use of the Interact feature, the mannequin 3 or so times, with the entity moving to a new location after each whack. After Plague is whacked enough times, they would fall over and its disease's effects would be removed from the players. However, if players fail to locate and interact with the entity in a given amount of time, they will succumb to the infection and instantly be jump-scared and die. This, despite sounding like a simple task, could prove to be quite challenging, especially given the disease's slowness and blindness effects, as well as the panic of the decreasing timer causing players to rampage in a confused frenzy. The thought of a mannequin somehow moving on its own is also quite terrifying. As for the technical side of this creature, once the minigame occurs, the next door wouldn't be able to be opened, and the previous door would lock and close, at least until Plague is defeated, meaning players would be trapped in the same room as the entity. Additionally, if any players are a few rooms behind when the minigame starts, they'll be teleported into the room where Plague is located, so they can participate as well. I also think that as a balancing thing, the more players alive there are when the entity is encountered, the more times they'll need to whack it in order to defeat it. It doesn't have to be like a crazy huge increase in difficulty, but just something so it doesn't become too easy with a large number of people present. Lastly though, just like most doors entities, Plague is able to be crucified. This can occur when holding a crucifix and either 1. Triggering their minigame to start by walking nearby them for the first time, 2. Whacking them over during any point in the minigame, or 3. Succumbing to their disease. Once the creature is being crucified, any disease status effects would instantly be removed, and just like always, the entity would vanish. One more thing I'd like to mention is that in terms of spawn frequency, I think Plague should appear at least 2 to 4 times in a Minds playthrough. Anyways, that was everything you needed to know about this entity concept for doors. Like I had said in the intro, this video was purely made for fun, and nothing presented here would ever be officially added. I primarily just wanted to update the oldest concept I had ever created. So with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think, and thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.